Welcome back to the Grim Workshop. Today we're going to be crafting a San Juan worm using a survival card in the field. Alright, so this skill here, this can be useful in a survival situation if you just had one of your survival cards with you. Instead of digging for live bait, the ability to craft artificial bait is pretty darn important. Now, this is the San Juan worm. So it kind of mimics a red wiggler. So this might be useful in a survival situation if you really needed to feed yourself and were unable to find live bait. But it's also just as likely that you only have one of these in your fly box and you're catching fish on it left and right, and all of a sudden you lose it. And the ability to just take a hook off of a card out of your wallet or out of a dog tag tool and craft one using some paracord might just save your fishing trip. So I always carry a couple of these dog tag tools with me, and it kind of varies which ones I carry. These packs here I just flew with, so I wanted to make sure I didn't have a knife or an arrowhead or anything like that on here. But I am always sure to carry some fishing hooks, so we're going to pull one of these hooks off today. So these are brand new, but these are a little dirty because these have been in the ocean a time or two. Now, I can show you in later videos how to improvise a vise if you wanted to be able to hold this similar to you would at home on a bench. And this is probably easier to do and easier to learn if you're at home on a bench. But you're going to be able to just hold this in your hand and just wrap it freehand. So whenever I go with a lanyard, I try to go with a bright color anyway. And if you pick red, it's pretty darn easy to either make a paracord jig with it that's pretty bright and the fish are going to see it, but it's going to kind of mimic a San Juan worm as well. So I want about half the hook shank hanging off on either side. So I'm going to hold this up. I'm going to give it a quick cut. Now I want to melt this down. I'm just going to do this right now. I'm not going to worry about pulling any of the strands out. I'm going to use the remainder of the cord for that. So I'll try to do this without dripping it on myself. Sometimes that's easier said than done. That's not bad. So this is my lanyard here, so I'm gonna reach in here and just grab a couple fibers. And I'm gonna work this jacket back. And I'm gonna pull out, oh, maybe 10 inches or so. This is about 8. I think this is gonna work. All right, so now this is 3-ply actually, and I'm going to unroll this and get this down to a smaller size. Now, once I do that, I'm able to tear it down again. So now we're not just going to tie the worm on right away. What we're going to do is we're going to put down a thread base. So I'm going to scoot this all the way up to the eye. And I'm just going to wrap this nice and tight. And this stuff will be easier to do when I do future videos like this when I'm on a bench. But you'll get the concept of what I'm doing. So I'm going to take this piece of paracord and I'm going to center it where I want it on the hook. And now I'm just going to take just a couple wraps over it and kind of center it. And then I'm going to crank on it a couple and make sure it kind of wants to stay. Now I'm going to lift this up out of the way and I'm going to skip forward And I'm going to do the same thing to the back side. Just keep working the paracord up a little bit. There we go. So we're kind of held on here right now, and I'm just going to peel the front of it off and expose the hook. Now I'm going to go across and put a couple half hitches in it. It's easier said than done with this little stuff. I'm going to put a couple half hitches in it, and I'm going to tie a little extension so I've got a little more room. So the half hitch is really just a temporary knot in this case. Alright, so here we go. Alright, so I've got a little extension on here now. So probably, if that was about 8 inches, I would do yours, oh, maybe 10 or 12, just to play it safe. So you could do a whip finish on this by hand, but I'm just going to continue on with those half hitches. That will really lock it in, and that will get me by for a survival lure like this. Now I'm going to melt those inner strands instead of cutting. There we go. So that's going to help bond it together. And that is a Paracord improvised survival San Juan worm made with a survival dog tag tool. Here's the Paracord San Juan worm. So the fish seem to like the Paracord San Juan worm.